think my... Dog is going crazy. Hi, Tandra. Okay, so we've got one person on joining us. Hi there, Tandra. Good to see you. Awesome to have you here. I'm going to begin because I popped on a minute late. Anyhow, welcome. And as we always say, good Thursday morning. That's our official welcome and beginning of stamp class. Hi, Sherry. Good to see you here as well. And wow, now we've got 6. So I went from 1 to 6, but I don't know who the others are. Jolinda, hello, hello. I like how you put the heart in your name. And my mom, awesome. And Nicole, she's out of Facebook jail and can now comment again. That's awesome. Okay, so today we have a fabulous class. This is called our pickup class. Bring your own supplies. And this class, I've got kind of my light. Whoa! we're doing a little moving here. Excuse me, the camera has a cord that's attached and I moved the light and the whole thing went spin. Okay, so today's class is Oceanfront. It's a stamp set in the annual catalog. It first made its appearance in the January-June catalog last, the last mini catalog we had, and it was carried over, which is awesome. And it's a continuation of the line. There was waterfront, snowfront, meadow. It's not meadow front, but there was a meadow something or other. And so these are stamp sets that you can use to kind of create some great scenes. So that's what we're going to be using today. I've paired it with a couple other stamp sets because you'll notice it's a stamp set that's great for creating backgrounds and looks, by using the stamps to create different things. However, it may need a greeting set. It definitely needs it because there are no greetings in the set. I've seen people pair it with Paradise Palms and the Lighthouse set. There's all kinds of things. So I am pairing it a little bit with Waves of Inspiration and a few things here and there. So that's what we're going to do today. So here comes the hand. Let's flip the camera so that we can begin. All right. It's always kind of a mishmash here. We'll flip. All right. So here's what we have going on this week. There are more weekly deals, and I got a peek at them last night, and there's some really cool things in there. In fact, the faux sea glass, that's on sale. I'm actually using those today. They're perfect with Oceanfront. There's some DSP. There's all kinds of cool things in that weekly deals for this week. Now, today only, all stamp sets are 15% off. All stamp sets in the catalog, 15% off. I do have a couple that I plan to get because, I haven't added them, but now here's a great reason. So you compare that with the weekly deal. You can stack these deals, okay? So you can get, if you order today, 15% off your stamp sets. The only sets that are not included in this sale are the host ones in the very, very, very back of the catalogs. Okay, so pair the weekly deal with the 15% off all stamp sets, and there's also the perfect partners. So there's 3 deals going on there. So lots of good stuff. And just to let you know, if you have those great offers on the deals, you can earn free class kits, and there's still time to register for this month's Technique Time class, which is going to be fabulous. Oh, the texture, it's called Seasons Chic. That's the name of the stamp set. The bundle is Texture Chic, but oh my goodness, so pretty. The paper is gorgeous. Anyhow, so if you want to spend $50 on the current host code, which is right here, you can get a free class. You will have to pay the shipping. Now, even better, if you have and I'll just cover this up for a second, spend $75, you're gonna get 2 free classes. So you'll get Technique Time and Use It Up, and you'll have that shipped to you for free. So this is really the better deal right here. But it's up to you. And maybe you've spent your budget this month. That's fine too. All right, moving right along. So I said texture chic, sweet was our focus for next. It's not next week. We actually have a week off because we have a 5th Thursday in the month here. So Jolinda says, which stamp sets are you getting? What is it called? It's called To a Great Kid or something, but it has to do with like, it's a greeting set for your grandchildren. So I want to get that one. I don't have it. And I really, really like that one. And there was another one with the little animals. There's like the dog that's being blown away. So there's standalone stamp sets that I've been looking at that I'm like, oh, maybe next time, maybe not. Well, now is the time, okay? All right, hello, Lori, good to have you here. Okay, so this is the class coming up. Like I said, it's gonna be awesome. So usually we do 3 projects in a Technique Time class. We're gonna do 4 this time. Because of the way this bundle is broken up, we're gonna do a winter, spring, summer, and fall, okay? So we're gonna hit all those seasons with this one stamp set. And it's gonna be fabulous. Can't wait. I really, really love this stuff. All right, for those of you who signed up for Paper Pumpkin, we will be upstyling our Spooky Treats set on October 6th. And you haven't heard yet, but here is the announcement for Use It Up in October will be Christmas cards featuring the Celebrate Everything DSP. Now, what's going to be really fun is we're going to feature more of this DSP because this is a huge pack of paper. We're going to feature it again in December. Let me get through all these ads. In December, nope, that's not it either. That's November. December, we'll be doing tags with that. So we're going to use all of that paper up. You know, you guys, myself, and, you know, anybody else who wants to join along. So that's Use It Up for October will be Christmas cards. Okay. And the pickup class in October, where you're going to bring your own supplies, I'm going to feature the Amazing Silhouettes. It's a bundle that has, I don't think the stamp set has been used a whole bunch, but I have it. And so I thought, let's take a dive into it. And then, of course, you've known for a little while that our Technique Time for October will be Fond of Autumn. I am really looking forward to this one. You guys, it's such an easy bundle to work with. You have everything you need in the bundle. You have the stamps, you have the greetings, you have the die cuts, you have open die cuts to cut out your stamped images. It's just fantastic. So it's a perfect bundle. I highly recommend it. All right, moving right along for today's class, we are featuring the Oceanfront Stamp Set. I've had it, and this was the first time that I finally got it and into my hands and opened it up and inked it up. I've had it for a little while. And I will say, so I just mentioned that Fond of Autumn was really easy to work with because it has everything you need. While this is a beautiful stamp set, it doesn't have everything you need. But you may have some other things on hand, like Waves of Inspiration. That's a really good one to combine with it. Or maybe Let's Set Sail, or On the Horizon. Or maybe you have a shell set, a seashell set, or maybe a lighthouse set, or as I mentioned earlier, the Paradise Palms. But I really think you do need something in here. So I actually today am going to use like a greeting from, this is the Season of Chic. This is next week, or next 2 weeks from now. This will be our class. And I will say that the stamps are not shown full size here on the front. They're showing you all of the stamps, but not at full size. They're much bigger. I digress. So, but you could use greetings from any stamp set you have. But I just think some of these kind of pair nicely. So I brought out kind of several things from my library. Check your library of stamps to see what you have that might work. Okay, our first card. Let's begin. So our pieces that you're going to need, let me get this little case out of the way. We don't need that. But bring your Stampin' Trimmer in. Okay, get that out. And grab yourself, this is Sahara sand, okay? So all of these cards today are top fold standard size. So you're gonna be cutting 4 1/4 by 11 and then scoring it at 5 1/2, all right? For technique time, we're gonna be doing some fancy folds. So I'm keeping these pretty simple today. All right, so 4 1/4 by 11 Sahara sand. Easy enough, right? And then give that a score and a good crease with your bone folder. Okay, there's that. And then you're also going to need, have for yourself a couple, I'm using all very vanilla for this class. There's no white. I'm using very vanilla. And you know what? I think I forgot to list watercolor paper. I am using watercolor paper in one. But have some very vanilla on hand. These are just quarter sheets, okay? And let's see. Now you're gonna need some dies. Your stitched rectangle dies, and you're going to need your decal squares or deckled rectangles. I'm using both of those. I'm using these kind of throughout all of today's class. They're standards. You know I use this one all the time. This one's fairly new in my library of dies. That's pretty funny. So I've been using these a little bit here and there. So, and I mentioned earlier, I really like the idea of these for fall. To me, it just kind of is reminiscent of fall leaves and that sort of thing. So if you're looking to increase, this might be something to look at. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna cut here. So with your very vanilla, we are going to die cut, and it's kind of my standard. I kind of use the 1, 2, and the 3 quite a bit. So we're gonna use the number 2. I had to line it up and see which one we were using. So when I mean the number 2, so if here's the largest one being number 1, that one right there, we're gonna use the number 2, okay? We're also going to use this one over here, all right? And I will actually get a ruler out and measure these so you can know for sure which ones we're using. So we are going to cut out of the very vanilla, we're gonna cut the number 2, and the number 2 is, when you measure it, it is 3 3/8, okay? So 3 3/8 by, let's see here, 4 so that would be 11, 12, 4 13/16, or really close to 4 3/4, okay? So you're gonna die cut that one. And then I have mine done, okay? Then from Sahara sand, so from a scrap of Sahara sand, this smaller one, this is gonna be for our greeting. This one is 2 7/8 wide by about 7/8 tall, okay? So 2 7/8 by 7/8. So those are the two we're working with right now. Okay, so give yourself a few seconds to cut those out while I'm just kind of setting these back in there so I don't lose them. And then from the deckled, we're going to cut, and I can't remember if we're cutting the largest or the second to largest, but that's what we're gonna be using today are these two dies right here. These are kind of my go-to favorites. So you're gonna be cutting the largest one, okay, out of Sahara sand. Okay, so we will review. So that was the largest of the deckled dies. Okay, we're gonna keep these handy nearby. All right, so let's review. While you're cutting and getting things together, I'll just do a quick review. 4 1/4 by 11 Sahara sand, fold it in half. The largest of the deckled rectangles in Sahara sand. The second largest stitched rectangle in Very Vanilla. And this 2 7/8 by 7/8 stitched rectangle, okay? And then we have some extra vanilla on hand because we're gonna do some stamping and fussy cutting. Okay, so those are our pieces for our first card of the day. And we're definitely gonna need all of our Oceanfront stamps. Now these stamps, oh, they're stuck together. Unlike So I had Waterfront from years ago, and that one had a little beach hut, or you could see it as like a little cabin, and it had little palm trees. Those images were smaller. These are pretty big images. So I had to go to, not the largest, I don't remember which block it is, but these are the big blocks in order to fit everything on the block, okay? So I'm using these three. So kind of this rectangle, this rough watercolored rectangle. And then this one is kind of has an angle to it. So I'm using these three, and these are the three that are going to set the stage for our background here, okay? And we're going to use ink-wise, let's see, Pool Party. And I really need to get a new Pool Party ink pad because the color on this is kind of strange. I noticed it was darker than Coastal Cabana. So I need to replace. Crumb Cake, you can see I need to replace that one as well. And Balmy Blue. So these are gonna be my go-to colors for the scenes today. I'm gonna keep them all the same. And I had no plans of keeping it in this color palette. In fact, I wanted to kind of go out there a little bit and be a little bit more unusual. But earlier this week, Julia, Kayleen, and I were planning our onstage trip. And so we're going to Catalina, we're staying in Dana Point, we're doing beachy things, you know, and so my mind was just like, oh no, I'm gonna go beachy. So we're going beachy. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw some scratch paper under here to keep my work surface a little tidy for you guys. Okay, so I like to start with the bottom image first, okay? So my bottom image for this particular card is going to be this piece here, okay? And you noticed I kind of turned it up, you know, I turned it around. So you could use it this way, which we will in one point in time, but we're gonna use it this way, okay? So we're gonna it's kind of a triangle shape, and we're gonna stamp that right about there in Crumb Cake. So let me get Crumb Cake out and handy. Okay, so I'm inking up. And the nice thing about these images is that they're kind of watercolored for you already. And I'm gonna stamp this about 1 inch up and off the edge of the page, okay? So there's my Crumb Cake. And what I mean by it already kind of has it watercolored for you is the image it's a distinctive look, and so it has some darks and some lights in it. So it's really kind of cool. All right, so nesting into that, I'm gonna use this image here, okay? And I'll stamp that with Pool Party. On Stage is in your backyard, 20 minutes away. No beach, but maybe a dip in the Ohio River in November. Oh, that would be fun. 20 minutes away. Yeah, no. I had to do some really weirdness on my flights to get to LA. And if I wanted to fly there semi-direct or like with one stop, it was going to cost me anywhere from $700 to $1,000. And it was just stupid. And it was going to take like 8 to 9 hours. And I was like, that's stupid. I can almost drive it in that amount of time. So I'm flying to San Jose, turning around and flying to John Wayne. And that was actually cheaper and faster for me to set up my own legs. Okay. Now this last image, this is the large rectangular one. And it doesn't really matter which way you do this. You could kind of turn it either direction. But I'm just going to stack that one right on top like so. Okay. All right. So there you have it. This to me is, you know, we've just painted with our stamps and we haven't done anything funky. We've just used straight down, straight up stamping and just kind of arranged them in a nice, and I think this is kind of typical of what a lot of people are doing with this stamp set, which is great. I'm just gonna move these out of the way and we're gonna continue to do some more stamping. So now I'm gonna pull out Soft Suede, and I have re-inked my Soft Suede since I made my original, so it's gonna look a little different, but that's okay. This is the way Soft Suede should look. But maybe I'll stamp off. If your Soft Suede is super juicy, okay, and nice and vibrant like that, go for it. Or you might wanna do it stamped off, either one if you kind of want it to be a little bit more, you know, breezy. So I'm gonna stamp off a little, okay? Because I don't want it super, super dark, but I do want it to have some color. So I'm gonna do one right about there. Yes, it's right floating in the middle of the water. Don't worry, we'll anchor it in a minute. And I'm gonna do another one down here off to the side. I'm gonna stamp off just a little. Okay, like I say, if yours is juicy, go for it. But we'll put this one down in the sand. Okay, so far so good, right? Beautiful. And now I'm gonna bring out Pacific Point. Okay, you stamp an oceanfront, you have to use the Pacific, right? So what I am bringing in and what I've noticed is there are a lot of stamp sets that have these little birds, okay? So find a bird stamp and you're gonna find them in lots of different things. This one comes from Let's Set Sail, okay? So there's some birds there. There's another one right there in Waves of Inspiration. And let's see, there's some really good ones right here in On the Horizon. If you remember, we did this. We featured this in the summer. You know, there are some paper pumpkin sets that have some birds in them. So find a bird stamp. I'm surprised in Oceanfront that they didn't include a bird, but maybe they said we've had so many others, why do we have to do them again? Okay, so now I'm gonna do a couple sets of birds here. I'm gonna do a set of birds right there. And I like that it's partially on and partially off of this little painted background that we've made. But I'm gonna clean the birds now. Okay, stamp it off, make sure it's dry. And I'm only gonna ink up the top 4, just because I don't want the cluster to be exactly the same. Okay, so I'm just inking up the top 4. Yes, Tandra, for sure. Let's like set a plan, okay? Let's set a plan to meet, for sure, for sure. We don't have dinner plans yet for that night, so maybe we could do that. And I know Jan Myers is coming to LA, so yeah, let's make a plan. Dinner and a swap. All right, so there's my background, okay? And now on that scrap piece of paper, we're gonna stamp a few more images, okay? So our images, we're going to bring in Old Olive, and we're gonna stamp this large grass piece. All right, this large kind of grassy piece right here. So let's stamp it twice. And you know what? I didn't do these ahead of time, so you're gonna have to watch me fussy cut. So be thinking of a topic of discussion for fussy cut session number 1 for this card. So we're gonna do 2 of these, okay? And we're gonna do the rocks. Okay, so I'm gonna do the double rocks here. And I'm gonna do this in gray granite. Okay, so we're just really mixing in a whole bunch of earth colors, earth tones for this particular card, and all the cards we're going to do. Okay, oops. So this is in gray granite, but I'm gonna stamp, because I rejuiced this. It was too, it just wasn't juicy enough. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna stamp off. And now we'll stamp here, because I just don't want them like so dark and in your face. I don't want them to like take away. All right, so there's my rocks. I have all these open ink pads over here. Pretty scary. Okay. All right, so now we are going to fussy cut these pieces out. And I said, do we have a topic of discussion? If not, I will find one. Excuse, I'm just gonna kind of flatten this out. It's kind of on an angle here. All right, so these aren't too bad to cut out. And you know, you look at the grass and you go, oh, you're gonna go in between every blade. It's not that bad because they're straight, quick cuts. And these little rocks aren't so bad. Okay. All right, coming around. All right, I've got a topic of discussion. Pumpkin patches. Since we are officially into pumpkin season, pumpkin patches near you, are they good? Are there some really good ones? Or are they just kind of like you know, on the corner of the street and you've got some variety you can go pick from. I will say the pumpkin patches here in the Boise area go all out. And they are not pumpkin patches. They're more like pumpkin resorts because they have everything at them. They have, like there's a haunted, they'll call them haunted tunnels. And they have train rides and corn mazes, just all kinds of stuff in them. Petting zoos, pony rides, horseback riding, gift shops. They're just crazy. I mean, they even sell like season passes. It's like, who sells a season pass for a pumpkin patch? But yeah, they're more like pumpkin resorts. And of course you can get your pumpkins there as well. So, in fact, there's one that we went to last year for Finn's first birthday. It was kind of fun. So maybe we'll head there again. Because I'm ready to go get some pumpkins for my porch. It is cool, Tandra. It's a little bit more. There is one similar to that with all that kind of stuff, you know, with like, they do some you can shoot apples with these kind of like cannon guns. And there's big jumping things. There's something like that in the Hollister area up in the Bay Area. It's called Swank Farms, but other than that, I've not seen any like that. And here they're all over the place. The patch we went to when our girls were small is now a housing plan. Oh, we miss the Boo Barn. Oh, that's cute, the Boo Barn. But our farmers market has amazing pumpkins, even light blue and green ones. See, that's what I miss, Nicole, is, yeah, in California, we have lots of varieties. So, and here it's like, it's just a lot of the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, which are the Howden ones. That's what they're called. But yeah, I like the Jardinelle. They're kind of a gray-green, kind of a soft succulent color. And while they're pretty, they also taste really good. That's a good cooking pumpkin. Your jack-o'-lantern pumpkins are not intended to be eaten, just so you know. I had to do a big, huge class on pumpkins one year. So I you know, was a very beneficial class. But those Howden pumpkins, they're for carving jack-o'-lanterns, and they are for pig feed. That's what they use them for. So there's the grass. That's not that bad to cut out. Okay. And second grass coming right up. The Boo Barn, that's cute. We have a place called Haunted World here, and it's not open all year, but it stays set up all year. And it's just a whole bunch of haunted houses that are like, you know, through all this, they go all over the place, and they're pretty long. They take about a half an hour to walk through, and there will be 4 of them this coming year. So that ought to be interesting, but they're kind of cool. They have everybody, they have all kinds of people dressed up that are inside that, you know, you go around the corner and you get scared by them. Haunted World. It's kind of fun. Okay, so hello, Kayleen. So what's in your neighborhood that's seasonal, fun for the Halloween season? Nicole has the Boo Barn. It's now missing. It's a housing plan now. Housing plan, that's pretty sad. Detailed fussy cutting. Is that when you came into the detailed fussy cutting? You know, I think this is about the most fussy cutting we're going to do today, is these 2 pieces of grass and the rocks. So you don't have much by you, Kayleen? You don't have big old pumpkin patches? That's sad. Ours are pretty fun. We went to another one last year in the area, and it was kind of really damp and gray outside, and it just kind of added to the atmosphere. It was kind of, you know, made it really fun. And at that one, they drive you out in this big, huge truck, and they take you way out into the field so you can walk out there and get some pumpkins. Okay, so there's our fussy cutting, not too bad. Like I say, I don't think we're gonna do a whole lot more fussy cutting today, so that's not too bad. Of course, your short-term memory here, we may have more, but let's just kind of move this out of the way so we can see what we're doing. All right, so now let's start to add all of our pieces together here. Okay, let's bring in our cut pieces that we've done ahead of time. Okay. Now, this I mentioned earlier, we're going to use this for our greeting. Now, you could use any greeting you wanted. Just find a greeting that fits that, or maybe you want to use the word hello. There's all kinds of things you could be using. I am going to use an image from the texture, no, I keep calling it Texture Chic, and it's Seasons of Chic. So let me show you. Oh, I'm even wrong again. It's Season of Chic. And I'm using this one that says, "You are amazing beyond measure." And you can see how the images are smaller on the cover than they are here, okay? So this is from that set, and I'm gonna stamp the greeting in Pacific Point. And I'm choosing Pacific Point because it is the darkest color that I've been stamping with, and sometimes I like to do that. And I feel like I need a little bit more balance because this is all the Pacific Point we have. I feel like we needed just a little bit more of it. Like I say, just trying to balance it out. So I'm inking up in that color. I'll bring on, and then this is nice, being that it's a cling, not a cling, but a photopolymer. It's clear. I can see through right to where I need that to be. There it is. That's a good looking stamp. I like that. Like it a lot. Okay. So now as I put things here, kind of I'm going to tack some, add some of this greenery here and there. This is kind of where we're going to lay things out. Okay, so by adding my sign here, we don't know that the sand comes up and over in here. So I'm using this as a way of grounding things, and that way I don't have this stuff growing right out of the water, which it could, but anyhow, that's what we're gonna do there. Okay, so let's just kind of put these, excuse me, these elements together for sure. We need some dimensionals. We have a witch's thing, cute and fun at, I don't know how to say that, Kayleen, Stahale Farms here. That sounds fun. Oh, I think a witch's party would be fun. I know that there have been several places that do that they kind of have an annual. And I think that sounds like a good time. So do you dress up every Halloween? I know some of you dressed up for our game night at our last Studio Ink spots where we played Let's Make a Deal. That was kind of fun. It's kind of nice because you're like, okay, I could just do that again and now I'm ready for this Halloween. Okay, so I'm going to set my greeting on first because that's really going to tell me where the rest of my images are going to land. So let's see, let's just kind of do this one right about there. Okay, and I'm making sure that it's parallel, that this edge and this edge are parallel. Now I'll do this taller piece of grass. You'll notice that I put a little slice of dimensional on there. You could do kind of some of that, or you could do minis, okay? And I moved it so I could see the birds, okay? How about my rocks here? Okay, just kind of add them in right about here. Maybe over just a little further. There we go. Okay, and now this one is going to kind of come in and around, and I'm really going to kind of maybe lay this one on its side just a little bit more because it's kind of ending up that it's at the same angle, and I don't want it at the exact same angle, okay? So it's going to glue. I'm just going to add some glue. Yeah, right. Okay. Gotta unplug. Okay. Little glue. And now I'm going to set this kind of sideways way in there. Okay? Looking good, looking good. Now we're going to take this whole piece and we're going to glue it to our deckled rectangle. So this is the largest deckled rectangle for those of you jumping in after we cut all our pieces. It's the largest deckled rectangle from the deckled rectangle dies. Awesome, awesome, awesome set, okay? So just kind of eyeball that on center. Okay. Oops. Now we're going to do something a little different here. Okay. So bring your trimmer back in front of you. And we're going to, don't use the cutting blade, but we're going to use the scoring blade. And so I'm just looking at my stitched rectangle here. And of course I'm going to have to start and stop on this one. But I'm just scoring a line. Come on, lift up. I'm just scoring right on the edge of the stitched rectangle. Okay? Just score right beside that. You could use a straight edge and a stylus if that's easier. But, okay. We're just going to add a little bit of dimension to our deckled rectangle here, our frame. We're actually going to make it look a little bit more like a frame. Okay, so now that I've gone all the way around, I'm just going to take and bend, you know, bring this up a little bit. And the nice thing is, if it kind of like, you know, I want it to look kind of rustic. And at the corner, it's going to do its own thing. Don't worry about it, because it doesn't have to stand up at a true 45. We just want to bring it up a little bit to give us a little bit of dimension here, okay? Okay, just kind of, come on. I can tell the spots where I didn't score as deep. Okay, and just kind of bring this up. And you can see as it's sitting there, it just adds a little touch of dimension. And then this is going to glue right on top. So now when you see it against the paper, you can see, you know, that little bit of shadow work there. It, without adding dimensionals, it just, you know, lends a little bit of dimension just by doing a little bit of folding it upward. Oh, poor Livy. She wants to go outside and be with her buddies, but she can't. I have a dog in heat that's making all the other dogs totally insane. She's like, how come I can't be with my friends? Okay, so I'm just gluing this on. A few more things to finish this up. It's time to get it dressed up with a little bit of embellishment work. So we have linen thread and the faux sea glass. And she's here at the party. She's in the house. Wouldn't be a party without her. We have Stella on board, of course. So I'm just going to do a real simple little bow here. So just grab yourself about 8 to 10 inches of linen thread. I was so sad the other day. I'm like, oh, I'm out of linen thread. And I found a bag stashed in my closet. I'm like, oh, good. I was feeling a little nervous there, not having any linen thread. So, yes, on that order today that I'm placing for that. Kayleen, what is the name of that set? Is it a great grandkid, or what is the name? Great kid? Someone was asking what stamp set I'm getting, but that's the stamp set, and I don't remember the name. Oh, you had a friend. So Nicole says she had a friend named Stella in high school. Super sweet and nice girl, and her family was Greek, and her mom made the best food. Yes, we have a new Greek restaurant here that Jennifer and I want to go try out. It's called Zuli's. And yeah, I'm looking for a good gyro because I haven't found one here. Okay, so I've just tied a bow, and I'm going to add a glue dot to that. I don't know that I've known anybody named Stella. My sister-in-law had a dog named Stella. She was Baxter's sister, if anybody remembers Baxter from San Jose years ago. Okay, so I've got a glue dot right in the middle, and I'm just going to kind of go under that grass and under the corner. Kind of slip that right in about there. Okay. Just a little touch of this. It just kind of lends to the look. Ooh, the faux sea glasses on the weekly deals. It is, I had mentioned that was one that I could remember. And the penciled papers, I'm trying to think what else was on that. I can't totally remember. Okay, so let's add, I'm gonna add the green sea glass to this. And I love that these are all kinds of different shapes, but I'm just gonna kind of tuck them here and there and everywhere. A little up in here. We'll do a bigger one right there. And I'm going to do a couple up here as well. Just adding some texture. Maybe right up like so. I'm going to turn it. There we go. Yes, the faux sea glass is a good addition here. And I wish my linen thread were just a little bit longer, but that's okay. Oh, the cotton ribbon with the silver edge. That's right. That's on there too. What else is on there, Kayleen? All right. I am going to paint my water because when you look out at the ocean, oftentimes the water has, you know, it sparkles. So there's that. Okay. A little water down in there. And evergreen ribbon. Oh, you're using that for Christmas. Good planning. Okay, so I'm going to get her kind of juiced up. Whoops, there we go. She's juiced up. Use that, and we'll just kind of splatter. I especially like to splatter when I have like vanilla or white, and it's kind of really, really kind of flat, if you know what I mean. Some of the items are 20% off. Okay, that's nice. There was something else in there that I went, oh, that's something I use a lot of. I can't remember what it was, but okay. So here we're talking about the sale. That's okay. Here we have it. Here is our first Oceanfront card. We're done with that. You could, and I haven't done mine yet, but with another piece of Very Vanilla. Okay, remember I had two of them out. One was for our fussy cutting. You could actually set another piece right inside, and that would actually give the card a little weight balance to each side. Plus you can actually sign on that, and you could stamp a little bit more if you wanted. So maybe that's my homework, but pretty card. And this is kind of the jumping off point because these cards are all going to match in a way. They're going to be siblings, and you could use them as a gift if you wanted. So there's our first one. So the rose gold and white ribbon. You know, I've never seen that in real life. I would like to see it, and maybe I need to get some and see if it's pretty. I'm sure it is. Rose gold. I love it. Okay, our next card is going to be similar, but we're going to change up the direction of the way we're going to do things. You love what I did to the edge, Tandra said. Thank you. Yeah, it's just kind of, I do it often, and we're going to do it in reverse in our next card here. Oh, the scalloped treat boxes. Oh, those are nice. I used those last Christmas. Those are really nice, and they're way bigger than what you think they're going to be. Okay, our pieces for this next card are going to be, let's see, let's grab them out, and you guys can be cutting pieces that you're going to need. So again, I told you these cards are all based on Very Vanilla. So grab yourself a couple pieces of Very Vanilla, one for the inside and one we're going to cut the largest deckled rectangle. And I'm going to need to do that. I didn't do mine ahead of time. So of all the rectangles in this set, grab the largest and let's cut a Very Vanilla deckled rectangle. Okay, so that's one step. And some of our other steps, we're going to do, because I'm going to stamp a greeting from the Waves of Inspiration, I'm going to stamp and then die cut because it's a cling mount. So we'll do that die cutting later. This one's gonna be for an edge that we're gonna rip. And our card base is soft suede. And so I told you all of our card bases were the same today. They're gonna be 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Oh, the masking paper, that's what I was looking at, is 20% off. Yeah, that's a good one to have, you guys, because it's a little bit, you know, it's bigger than a Post-it note and it's going to get you sticky everywhere rather than just the top little 1 inch. So that masking paper is awesome. Good to have on hand. Okay, so let's die cut this and then we'll bring it back to our station and we're going to do a little something to this as well before we stamp on it. All right. I have 7 open ink pads staring at me, saying, put your paper in the pad. Usually I shut everything, so she's getting risky here. Okay, so here is my deckled rectangle. There's the trash part of it, right? Keep it in the little in the die cut here and turn it over and grab a piercing pad, okay? So I have my piercing pad and I'm gonna keep this in the deckled die. And you can use a bone folder or you can use your stylus, okay? And I'm just going to very carefully, don't do it too hard, but just right along from the back side, along the edge, you're just going to run your stylus, okay? Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I just saw Kayleen's comment came in, and she says the stamp set Liz is getting, the stamp set that Liz is getting is called A Grand Kid. Okay, that's the one I want. Yeah, it's got really good greetings. And it will be a set that will stay on my shelf. It's not going to go anywhere once it's retired. Okay, so I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'll pick this up in just a second. But I'm just running right along that edge. And it's kind of bumpy because it's the deckled edge. But it's going to look... Oh, hold on. Oh, I'm glad I didn't rip my paper. Okay, just got a little too bon vivant, doing it a little too hard. Okay, just coming right along that edge. And when you take it out, what you have now is kind of a reverse of what we did on the first one. Okay, I think you can really see it on this side here, where it's kind of curving down, but it's giving us just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of dimension. And that's a real cool little trick you guys can do. Okay, I will say don't press too hard, especially if you're doing it with like one of your stitched rectangles or something, because it you're gonna have a little bit of a problem. Okay, so let's do some stamping the same way we kind of did before. We're gonna use those 3 pieces. However, for this card, I'm going to reverse the direction, okay? So if you remember on this card, we went sand, water, sky, okay? This time we're gonna do water, sand, sky. We're just gonna kind of reverse it and make it look like we're in the water looking out towards a beach. Okay, so if we've got water first, and we're gonna use pool party again. Okay, so here's pool party. And this time I'm gonna put this right in the middle of the card. We're not gonna go off the edge. But before we stamp it, we're going to just give it a light mist. I have water inside my mini mister, and I'm just gonna give it, not a whole bunch, I just did 2 spritzes. You don't want it to be soaking wet, okay? And so I'm about 1 inch up. I'm gonna stamp that piece, okay? Give it a good squish, okay? So it gave me just a little bit of a different look than before, not a huge drastic difference. Now we'll do crumb cake and the sand barge, okay? And we'll stamp it a couple times, spritz it a couple times. Just ever so slightly enhancing that stamped look. Okay, so I'm gonna, now when we stamped it before, we stamped it like that. I'm gonna turn it over and kind of fill in right in there. Yeah, now I'm really seeing that one. Really, the misting showed up a lot. Now here we go back to Balmy Blue. Here's Balmy Blue. Ink it up. This image here is such a cool image. You know, there's a lot you could do, not any sort of a beachy look at all, but I mean, just use this and kind of stamp across and get yourself a great background for something. Speaking of something, there's something right in the middle of the image there. It was a piece of lint or something. Can't have that. Okay, again, I'm gonna mist it a couple times. Okay, and doesn't matter which direction, but we're just gonna add this one right about there. Okay. Ooh, there's a little yellow in there. I did stamp one in yellow. We're not gonna do it, but that's what's a little remnant there. That's okay, it's cool looking. All right, so there is my background. We're gonna let that dry entirely before we, and it's pretty dry, but if I stamp the birds and things, they are going to bleed just a little, and that will be on our last card, not this card. Okay, go back to your piece of vanilla that you've been stamping earlier, and let's do some stamping on this. We're going to stamp, and you could use anything. Maybe you have a palm tree. I don't have any, well, I do, but I didn't have any, you know, it wasn't current. So I was trying to find a current image. And this image here, I'm going to do this pelican or this, you know, whatever bird that is, albatross, I don't know. I'm going to use soft suede and gray granite, okay? And I'm going to stamp this little dudette. I'm going to ink up the bottom portion in soft suede, so the logs and whatnot. And it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just kind of blending a little color. In fact, you might not even notice that there's a couple colors going on, but it's just a subtle touch. So I've stamped the bird in the gray granite, and down here is the soft suede. And here I'll stamp it. And you can see, ooh, his head is really juicy. Okay, it'll dry. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, I over-stamped, I over-inked, and there you can see it right there, okay? Sometimes it's like, do I care or should I redo it? So, because this is a class setting here, I'm gonna redo it. Because it's just, to me, that's a great example of over-stamping, and now the design is not crisp and pretty. So here you can see that's what the head should look like, and you know, he's got a full head of like hair. So I'm going to ink up the bird portion, and now the logs, the pillars. Okay, make sure I've got them all. A little more there. Okay, we'll try this one more time. We'll just go over here. Oh, much better. Much, 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 much better. Hopefully you guys can see that. See how much clearer that image is than that one there, okay? What not to do the right way, and the right way to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna let those colors kind of really saturate into the paper, and we're gonna die cut that, because the Waves of Inspiration, if you remember, that's a fabulous set. Okay, where is it? I know I brought it out here. Here it is. Okay, so this is a pretty big set of dies. It had the waves, it has birds, clouds, but this image here you can cut out. Okay, so I'm going to use this die as well. So you could use any label die, you guys. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm using. So if you were, maybe you have the Let's Set Sail, so rather than this, maybe you do a boat, or maybe you would do a lighthouse in yours. But look at your stash and see what you can use. Okay, so I'm going to die cut this. Okay, kind of a beautiful little image there. So let me cut that one out. I don't have any, I've never bought any of Stampin' Up's Lighthouse sets. I don't know why, I just haven't. But that could be really nice mixed in with this Oceanfront set of stamps. You can't go outside, Libby, sorry. My little doggy here wants to go outside so bad and be with her pals. No. All right, there's my pelican and my pillars. And I'm just gonna take an aqua painter, and with just a little bit of water, I'm just gonna move a little bit of this ink. Not a ton, just a little. Just to fill it in with just a tad more color, okay? And we'll kind of clean a little because this is a slightly different color. And we'll get this bird. Just a little bit, okay? And I'm gonna paint it again with Wink because there is a little bit of color in Stella here. So we'll just kind of bring that to life just a little bit. Okay, just a little action there. So if I bring this back in, and now we can kind of look at that and figure out what we're gonna stamp on this. This is now dry enough that I can stamp and it's not going to bleed. So we're gonna use those, we're still using the same colors. We're gonna use this grassy piece and soft suede. And this I'm gonna stamp full strength because this is when I finally re-inked my image. So goofy. And I'm gonna stamp one like right about here. Okay. There's one of those. And then there's a little grass image in this set. Let me see, where did I put it? Here it is. So here's this little grassy image. Kind of cute. He looks like he has a mini mohawk on the first image. I was thinking Chia Pet. So yeah, mini mohawk, Chia Pet. Yeah, we didn't need that look. So here's the small little grassy image. And I'm gonna do this small little grassy image down here in the corner as well. Okay, just kind of setting a scene. And that's all the soft suede. I'm gonna go to Old Olive. Old Olive will do this grass piece, this like more flaxy type piece. Don't know what it is. And we're gonna do a couple of these. And I'm just gonna do one that's gonna kind of come right up through here. Stamping right over top. Kind of looks like they're growing in between one another. We'll do another one right in there, like so. Okay, so we have, once we get our greeting, it's gonna go right in there. So this won't look quite so funny. It will be a little bit more grounded. And I'm gonna do another one right up in here. I wanna get it high enough that the bottom of it doesn't show. Okay, so I know they look like they're placed funny right now, but they will make sense in just a second here. And from the Waves of Inspiration, I'm gonna use this little bird, and I'm also gonna use this greeting, "You are so totally awesome." Okay, you could use this one as well. They both fit into the die that I'm gonna use. Okay, so the birds are gonna be gray granite. And let's see, where did I put, oh, here it is. One single little bird. Any bird image will work. And so I'm gonna put one kind of down in here. And another one up a little higher, slightly different angle. And we'll do one more. I'm gonna wait for this other one until I have this guy in place. So I place it in just the right spot, okay? So in fact, let's do that one right now. We're gonna put this on with dimensionals. Okay, so just cut a piece there to kind of come into this little bird dude with his mohawk cut off. That's funny that you saw it as a mohawk. It did kind of, just some curly hair on top. Chia Pet. You bought your dad the Bob Ross Chia Pet for Christmas one year. It looked awesome. Yeah, that's so funny. My son has a, he's so drawn to Bob Ross. He just thought, you know, he was the best. sits and watches the show, the reruns. Okay, so this guy is gonna come right in about here, just kind of right up the side. Now I can tell where I want my other bird. I just didn't want it to get too close to or covered up by, so now I know where that bird could land, okay? And let's move on to the greeting. So if you remembered, I had a couple pieces of balmy blue, all right? This one is about, I think it's about 4 3/4. Yes, it's about 4 3/4, and it doesn't matter because we're gonna be ripping it. So it's about 1.5 inches wide. We're gonna use that. And then this scrap here is balmy blue, and this is for our greeting, okay? So I'm gonna stamp the greeting in gray granite, okay? And I mentioned that it would be a greeting from that set, from the Waves of Inspiration. And I could already have my label already pre-cut, but sometimes, you know, you just don't know exactly where you are gonna land. So I can totally do this. I'm gonna stamp a little harder. I was afraid I would, but now I can line this up better, if you know what I mean. Because I can't see exactly where that image is. Even though the label is there, it may not be exact. And so this way I can make sure that my greeting is straight and centered in there, okay? So I'm gonna cut this one out. So you could use stylish shapes and use the banner from that. You could just freehand a banner if you want, or a label of some sort. But that's what I'm gonna do. Kind of right across there. Getting it centered. Hope that it doesn't jump around in the big shot here. Okay, there's my greeting. Okay, and I'm going to, this is going to kind of line up right in and about here, okay? And so it's, you know, kind of a similar layout to the previous card. I mentioned they all kind of, they go together as a little set. However, this one might, you know, we've got just some slightly different techniques going on it. Now, I feel like I may want it a little further this way, okay? So from about here over, I can put dimensionals, because some of that's just going to be up on that other one. So we don't want too many in the way. So we'll just do 2 there, okay? But before this goes on, I'm going to add some loops of thread. And so this isn't linen thread. If you were with us at Studio Ink Spots, this is left over from that day, from that last day of stamping. This is the silver threaded twine. And so I've just pulled out pieces. You know, you can just kind of roll it and pull out the pieces. You've seen me do that many times with that and with other types of things. So I just have a couple long hanks of it here. Well, let's see which one's longer. This one's longer. And these pieces are probably about 20 inches long, okay? And I'm just gonna fold them in half so that I have just kind of all this fuzziness, okay? Nothing, I don't even know if I can get it to look the same as I did on my first card that I made, but I'm just gonna run these through here. And these aren't gonna tie, we're just gonna kind of like put them in, and then I'm just gonna kind of curl them and I'm gonna fold them to the back. So since I'm gonna fold them to the back, I need something to stick them to. So I'm going to do just a row of Seal Plus, kind of right about where it's gonna land on each side. So that way when I come across, I have something to stick to, right? So we have this, and let's see here. Kind of pull your pieces. And you know, maybe you want to straddle your, you don't want it right on top of your dimensionals here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of move them around, wiggle them around. Because you want your dimensionals to stick, right? So if this stuff is in the way, okay? And it's okay if it's sticking out, we're gonna pull it. But go ahead and like let that land on your card. Okay, and if it's not totally sticking, once we get these tucked to the back, we can add more dimensionals if we need them. But make sure it's straight. Okay, now to the back, we're just going to kind of fold these. But I want them kind of like crisscrossy, and I don't want them, see how I've kind of got them loose? I just kind of want it fun and funky. Okay. Kind of like seaweed. But you know, if you want to twist these and then get them to the back. So I've just kind of, you know, nothing technical at all. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of stick those on there. And then I'm going to come in here and trim some of this out because we don't want that extra bulk in there. Okay. All right, now, when I stick this onto my card base, I don't want to lose some of my dimension there. So in order to keep that and maintain that card base, I'm gonna bring in another piece of cardstock. And this doesn't have to be pretty cardstock. It can be like a color you have a bunch of that you know, don't use a lot of, but we're just going to put a layer inside here to kind of give this a stabilizer base. I believe we spoke about that a while back. And I think Nicole or Jacqueline, she said she does it a lot too. So this is gonna be a hidden layer to fit back there to kind of keep things from sagging and hopefully maintain that little bit of edge that we created. So I'm not even getting an exact measurement. It's just a piece that's big enough to set inside here to help hold that little lipped edge. And then when we put dimensionals on, it's not going to kind of undulate and sag. You know, I'm kind of going like this with my hand. I want it to stay nice and flat, but with a little bit of lift. Hopefully that makes sense. Hello, cat. I see you popped on. Okay, so this is just kind of my stabilizing layer. Now you can see this is, be quiet. Libby, sorry about the barking. That you can see it's not going to show. That's where you could use any old color. But see, it does. It gives it just a little bit of, you know, stabilizing. It's kind of like when you line something or you have an underlayer of lining. Okay, so this edge is going to come right in here. We're just going to have kind of a decorative pop of blue there. But I want it to be a little bit more interesting than just a straight edge. And I kind of want to match this deckled edge, but not another deckled edge. So I'm going to take my ruler here, my straight edge, and we've done this before. I'm just going to tear up against that edge. Okay? And so it gets us a straight torn edge. Love doing this, especially for some reason in the fall season. Okay, so now if I turn that around, now as we tuck that in there, look how cool that looks. It kind of imitates that deckled edge, but in a slightly different way. Okay, so this is just going to glue here. So just a little bit of blue peeking through. Okay, and you could kind of come in and give that a little bit more, you know, really emphasize that. Now this whole thing is going to get dimensionals. So, a couple there, boom. Okay, how many dimensionals do you guys use on the back of something like this? Do you just do the four corners, or I kind of didn't want the middle to sag? So hopefully with our stabilizing cardstock layer, that hidden layer, and with this amount of dimensionals, we should be good. And we bring in our card base here. Can you hear Livy? She's kind of got this moaning going on. You never let me outside. Okay, so we're just gonna pop that onto the front, okay? And we will add a little bit of splatter because it's fun. And I'm demented and sick, I guess. There you have it. Yeah, poor puppy. Cat, she's in heat. And so I have to keep her away from Bosco, who is, you know, he's our stud dog. So, yeah, it's not been pretty the last week or so. In fact, we went to Salt Lake this weekend and we took Livy over to my son's house because, you know, she can't stay with him because we don't need another litter of puppies. She needs a break. Okay, so I did add a few of these faux sea glass. And to me, you could add any of these colors and it's gonna look awesome. So I didn't use this color before, but you know, just one there and another one kind of, just tuck them wherever you want in a few places. And we'll do some up in the kind of the grassy area over here. Maybe a little one. Yeah, wherever it lands. And we'll do a few in here as well. Okay. I mean, this is just kind of cool. Kind of cool, kind of fun. And it's a different layout on what we did the first time. And there you have it. Same elements, we just kind of moved them around a little bit from our first card. Okay, so there's number 2. This one I used the white faux glass with the green instead of the blue, but I like the blue for a change. Okay, there you have number 2. Okay, so it's really a riff on our first card that we did. Okay, just slightly different, similar elements. Yeah, I like the peak of the blue on the edge too. It needed a little something. I'm like, I can't just put a square, a deckled rectangle on there. It just needed a little bit more. And so it was a simple addition. Okay, this last card we're gonna do, folks, is you're gonna need a piece of watercolor paper. So I'm sorry I forgot to tell you, but just like a 1/4 sheet of watercolor paper, because we're going to paint and have a little bit of wild fun here using these images. And we're gonna do some double imaging, okay? So we're gonna stamp it, let it dry, and we're gonna stamp it again and kind of, you know, do some fun things. So we're gonna use the same pieces we've been using, the same colors we've been using, okay? So we have, whoops, not that one. That's not the right one. Where did it go? Okay, you would think it's right in front of me. It's on the back side, that's why. Okay, so I'm gonna take the little pelican off. There's the back one. So crumb cake, pool party, balmy blue, okay? So, but before we do that, we're gonna entirely spritz this piece of watercolor paper. And I'm a little bigger than a 1/4 sheet, but you know, a 1/4 sheet plus. So spritz it all over, and I'm gonna do it not in that area. So I'm spritzing the whole thing, okay? And I want you to spritz the back as well. Okay, so I have spritzed the back and the front, okay? And I'm gonna use my water painter just to kind of really spread out over the whole thing. Now, are you wondering why we spritzed the back? Okay, we spritzed the back, not that we're gonna stamp the back, but when you spritz the back, it helps a little bit from curling. We're still gonna have some, but not as much. Okay, so let's really get that water moving on here. Lots and lots of water. Okay, well, not drippy drippy, but semi-drippy. And let's start with crumb cake first. So we're gonna go back to putting this on the ground first. So we'll do sand first. So I'm just inking up really well. And we'll get this little right there and let it, all right? I'm gonna stamp off just a little bit so it's not too wet on my image. And I'm inking up again and I'm stamping again, okay? So I'm just kind of pouncing back and forth. Okay, I like that right there. Can you see that? So stamp it, move it around. Now with pool party, let's do the exact same thing. Here's pool party. Same image, well, not the same image, different image, same technique is what I meant to say. And we'll stamp that water. Just kind of pick it up and move it, maybe stamp it off, bring in some more ink. See how that's bleeding? That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. And let's do the same technique, new color, new stamp. There's the stamp, and we're gonna use Balmy Blue. Yeah, you know, Kat, sometimes I do the back and sometimes I don't. You know, it curls, you know, aside from taping everything down, it's gonna curl, right? So there's my blue. I stamped off. Just gonna stamp it a couple more times, back and forth. And I'm kind of liking what's happening here. I'm allowing, you know, it's not super, and you can see I'm not dripping off, but it's wicking and blending out a little bit, and I think it's pretty. We can let that air dry. You can also take your heat tool to this and move things around. If you need to add more water, more inking, maybe you do, maybe you don't. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. The nice thing is you have the option, because you're working with the watercolor paper, that it's you know, going to allow you it has the durability to keep adding water if you want to. All right, Nicole is off to the farm to pick up her order. Yes, you will see this card finished when you return. Have a safe trip. All right, I'm gonna go back to the birds from the Let's Set sale, and this is Pacific Point. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of tuck them right there. And they are bleeding a little bit. I like that. I think I want them to bleed just a little bit more. Okay, just a little bit more. So I'm gonna hit them. Of course, I spritz it, and does it hit where the birds are? Nope. So just kind of tip. Okay, can you see I'm just kind of tipping the little bit back and forth. I'm just hoping they'll bleed just a little bit. Yep, there they go, just a little bit more. And I'm gonna spritz a little bit down in here because I'm gonna stamp some more down there as well. So this is the grass, and I'm gonna go to the soft suede. Pop that right there, and see how that's wicking and bleeding? That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, same thing with the small grass piece. Okay, that was soft suede that I just loaded into it. We'll stamp that one right there. Okay, and I really wish those birds would do it just a little bit more so that they'll lighten up so that I can stamp over them again. Okay, so this is where we're gonna let it do its thing for just a few minutes while we do a few other tasks that we need to do for our card. And then we'll come back and we'll sharpen up the images here. Okay, so our card base for this card is going to be crumb cake. Okay, again, 4 1/4 by 11, 5 1/2. So a crumb cake card base. Okay, that's one element. And then this is the largest. Is it the largest? It's the deckled rectangle again. We're sticking with our same. Yes, it's the largest one. Okay, so we're gonna go crumb cake and then pool party. So this is pool party, the largest deckled rectangle. And my next layer coming in here is a very strange measurement, but this is the copper color from the brushed metallic cardstock. Or designer specialty paper. This is a gorgeous color here with this soft suede, I think. Okay, so you're gonna need to cut this piece, and I'm gonna give you the measurement on this. This is gonna be a layer underneath our rectangle. So this piece, this layer here, is 3 11/16. Okay, so you're gonna be one little hash mark past 3 1/2. 3 11/16 by you're going to be 4 7/8. Okay, so that's that layer there. Then once this is dry, we're going to cut this with stitched rectangles. So have your stitched rectangles. It's going to be a little while before we can cut it though, because if we cut it right now, we are going to have problem. You don't want to cut dry, you don't want to cut wet paper. It'll just tear. Okay, so I'm pulling out the same die we've been using. Again, that's kind of creating our continuity to kind of make a little pack of cards here. This is the number 2. So this piece is going to get cut from the number 2. Okay? And while you have your stitched rectangles out, I want you to die cut. So this is, so working inside. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So it's the littlest one, the number 8. We're going to die cut that. Living. Sorry, folks. We're going to die cut a vanilla rectangle there. Okay? We're going to die cut several things for this card. So you need a vanilla rectangle. And you're going to need, so I have my vanilla rectangle here. Okay? We're still waiting for that to dry. We have a lot of pieces here. And from the glimmer paper that's in the catalog, it's gold, evening evergreen, and ivory. I've cut the word thanks out of the gold, okay? So that's gonna layer on there. And then I have another die cut that we're gonna bring in. So here's the thanks. That comes from the Amazing Thanks dies, you know, that pack right in there. And so that's this one has the shadow in it, so you're gonna want the skinniest one. And then I'm using the rugged icon dies. And I think that that's a fun addition. This is the fishing pole. Okay. So I don't have, I mean, I would have used like the paradise palms and had die cut palm trees on here, but I don't have them. So I'm like, well, what do I have? And that's the whole point of some of these classes, is for you to look at what you do have and bring those elements in. So instead of a fishing pole, you know, because that's going to kind of come right through this, you could have a palm tree right through here. You could have a lighthouse coming through here. So you could have all kinds of things. So if you don't have rugged icons, look at what you do have and go from there. Just kind of look at the techniques and the colors and then use what you have. Okay, so that's all the pieces you need to be cutting. And this is doing well. Remember how I said I really wish the birds would blur out a little bit? Look how cool that is. All right, I'm just kind of letting the water do its thing. And at this point, I want to kind of speed things along just a little bit. So I am going to bring in my heat tool just to dry it. You could air dry and let it just completely air dry. But if I do that, we're going to be here a while. And you don't want to, this is still too wet. It's not that wet, but it is still too wet to put it through the Big Shot, or it will just tear. But I really love how this is kind of blurring out and doing its thing. Okay, so we're gonna dry. It's gonna be a few minutes here. And you'll notice we are curling, but I'm gonna flip this over and take some of that curl out. I'm gonna flip this over. This will kind of help to press out some of the curl. Okay, so now at this point, while it's still warm, I'm kind of press it with my hand. Okay, but that's not too bad. For all the curling that we had, it's pretty flat and very workable. Okay, Kayleen says, great idea. I like the lighthouse. I have. And that's exactly right. I wish I had the palm tree or a lighthouse. I didn't have either of those, so that's why I went to the fishing pole. Okay. All right. So this is looking good. Now this type of technique here, you cannot do this with, say, Whisper White or Basic White, I should say, or Very Vanilla. Sometimes it will work with the shimmer, but you really need the watercolor paper if you want this kind of cool look the way this has bled, all right, and the way this is all coming together. Now, before I put this through the Big Shot, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to stamp the images again right on top. Okay, so ink up in the soft suede, line this up, and if you're slightly off, don't worry about it. Okay. But what we're doing here is now, I hope you can see how cool this is, that I have that blurred image, but then I've come back in and crisped it up by stamping again right on top. Okay, so let's do that again with the smaller grassy image. Okay, and I'm gonna put that right on top or close to it, okay? So I'm sure you were going, oh, that looked so blurry, what the heck was she doing? But now, look how cool. Love it, love it, love it. So the last is the birds with the Pacific Point. So this technique works with any kind of stamp. It's just a lot easier with your photopolymer because you can see where you are. Okay, so come back in here and kind of crisp up the birds. Ah, see? I'm sorry, but I think this is like the wonder of watercolor paper, and it's awesome. I just kind of love this kind of a look. Okay, so now from here, this is dry enough. We're going to cut this out using the number 2 stitched rectangle. And so I'll bring in my whole set so you can see it again, just to make sure if anybody's been on and off. So number 2, so here's the largest, it's the second largest. Okay, so let's cut that out. Okay, and again, with your stitched rectangles, you might want to go through on an angle. Okay, move mine down just a little bit. And going through the Big Shot kind of helps to press things out a little bit too, which will also help with the curling. Okay. I'm really happy with how this one turned out, okay? And yeah, it's a little further off the edge than my original, but so pretty. Okay, so there's that. So now that's a pretty flat piece of, you know, there's a little bit of a bow in it, but it's not too bad, it's workable. Sometimes I've had them so curly, I'm like, oh, I have got to get this in between some books. All right, so this is going to layer on top of that piece of the brushed metallic copper paper here. So I'm gonna glue this. And when you're gluing, you know, sometimes we just kind of, but make sure when you're gluing with watercolor paper that you don't just do the edges like I've just done. You need to glue the middle down as well, okay? Because it will kind of pop up and get away from you. That little bit of bowing and buckling, okay? So just put this on center. It's skating around just a little bit, but you know what? Tell it who's boss. Make it stay where you've put it. And then once it starts to set up, that's when you can kind of move things around. Okay. Pretty, 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 pretty. Now this layer, real easy, you guys. Just basic layers here at this point. We're gonna layer it right on top of our deckled rectangle. Again, this deckled rectangle is Pool Party, and it is the largest of the deckled rectangles. This should hang in a museum. It's framed. It's art. It's a painting. We painted with stamps. Okay. And then, you know, real tough here. These are just straight layers. Because this is so thick anyways, no dimensionals are needed. Going straight onto a card base here. Just some classic stamping. No crazy layers and... Don't get me wrong, I like crazy layers and all kinds of fun stuff, but I wanted the stamps to shine. Okay, so there's that. Pat Tate is on. Hello, good friend. All right, moving right along. This doesn't have a whole lot. We're going to add the thanks right in here. It's going to be centered. What? She's going to center something? No way. So I'm going to add just a little glue here and there and add this to my ivory layer, very vanilla, I should say. And this very vanilla layer is the smallest, so it was the number 8 is what I called it, okay? So this is just gonna glue on here, like so. And we're gonna put dimensionals on the back of that. Oh, thanks, Kat. I think it's beautiful too. It really is pretty. Try this type of technique. It's really fun. It's kind of like a Monet painting, you know, where you have all those layers and then they kind of, they blur, you know, they kind of blend and look pretty. Okay, so I'm not going to stick this down just yet because I'm going to bring my fishing pole is going to go in there. But before we do that, I'm going to paint with Wink of Stella. And so Pat just jumped on. She said she revived 3 different Winks of Stella. I'm like, yeah. So I'm just going to do some quick brush strokes across here. Okay, make sure you don't have soft suede in your, okay, just kind of coming across, adding a little, definitely to the water. And then you can splatter as well. But I gave it some shine. No twine, just shine. My fishing pole's gonna go right about there, and then the thanks will come across. Now, so you could easily have a lighthouse through here, a palm tree, anything beachy, okay? And so I'm gonna actually pick that the reel up just a little. And just, I'm trying to make sure that this panel here is centered and that it's perpendicular to the side, you know, parallel, perpendicular, squared. Now, if I need to get a little glue in there on some of this fishing pole, I use just a scrap of paper. You've seen me do this before, as like a spatula, and then just kind of, just in a few spots here and there. I don't have to anchor the whole thing, but maybe just kind of touch that down just a little bit. Oops, maybe just a little more glue on that one. Okay, and there you have it. All right, no extra, yeah, I didn't add any extras on this card. I just kind of kept it as is. You could if you wanted, depending on what you know, what you have on yours, but there you have it. There is our watercolor masterpiece. Hang it in the museum, in the Louvre. And there is our painted card. And then we have our other 2 beachy cards. So we have that one with the pelican, and then our very first card that we did where we stamped off the edge of the page and just kind of made a nice beachy scene. So hopefully you have enjoyed painting with stamps and creating some beach themed cards. And yeah, we'll catch you not next week, but the week after for technique time. Don't forget, you have, I think, until the 20th is what the cutoff date was. But let me know if you want a technique time kit. You can buy one. You can earn it for free. There's great sales today. I'm going to go place an order for that A Grand Kid stamp set because all stamp sets are 15% off right now. So have some fun. Do share what you've been stamping lately. If you've been inspired by one of these, you know, I loved it. Tandra popped up one that she did the other day and I'm like, awesome. And I know that Pat has sent me some, and Denise, any of you guys, pop them up on the website. I mean, up on our Facebook group page. It's fun to see what you guys come up with. It gives me inspiration. Okay. So there you have it. Lots of gab, lots of fun. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks for another stamp class. Be safe. Have fun. Go buy a pumpkin. Bye.